Bases dropped on a new edition of Soccer Down here. It is a Thursday. It's World Cup qualifying day. We already have one big result in the books in Asia. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about what's going on in Europe with knockout playoffs, and some teams' World Cup dreams are going to be dashed today. We've got South American World Cup qualifiers. It's kind of the run here. And then at the end of the night, we've got CONCACAF and we've got the United States men's national team going to the Estadio Azteca for a huge match. And there's lots of different theories about how to play this. And Greg Berhalter fed into the theories and didn't commit to anything yesterday in his comments, which I thought were pretty funny. We'll get into all of that this morning, as well as being joined by a couple of guests. Niko Moreno will join us at 10:30. Talk a lot of CONCACAF, a lot of CONMEBOL with his beloved Colombia in a bad spot in South American World Cup qualifiers. They need a lot of help from the teams ahead of them to get back into this race. Chile going to Brazil today. Can they pull anything out of that? Ecuador can clinch their spot. Uruguay can clinch their spot. Peru can't clinch their spot, but they can at least maybe start looking at tickets for the playoff game in June. Lots of things in play in South America. Niko will work with us on that and on CONCACAF. And then in the 10 o'clock hour, we will also be joined by new Atlanta United 2 signing and future Atlanta United signing, Noah Cobb. Noah will be joining the show around 10 o'clock. He's got practice and stuff. Jarrett's worried about school with Noah. Noah's a professional now.
Because he's 16.
Professional athlete, sir. The school will be taken care of, don't you worry. But those hours might change a little bit. He's not riding the bus to school anymore. He's a pro.
I am always impressed in not just in Atlanta, but any place where you're developing these like this.
And Jarrett is gone.
Robots got him already, man.
One day we'll have a professional show. I promise. One day, not today, but one day. No, it's something that you have to sort out with these guys, and different teams do it different ways. Philadelphia has a partnership with a local school. They created their own school. I know Dallas in the past had partnerships with local schools where players would go to school after morning training. I'm not sure exactly what the setup here is, and it probably depends on different individuals. We've had some homeschooled individuals, part of the academy, signed pro deals, others who have done, I think, some different timing of schooling and things like that. But it's a lot to balance, as I think Jarrett was going to try to say. It's a lot to balance as a young professional where, you're being paid to perform a job as an athlete, not just the high school jobs I had where I'm working at the Kickin' Chicken or a grocery store. I did not work at Toys R Us, John. I was talking about the jobs I had. It was me. I didn't work at Toys R Us. I wasn't Jeffrey the giraffe.
I worked at Jeffrey the Giraffe, but I was close.
Okay, that was you. I worked at the Kickin' Chicken, sir. I worked at, doing scorekeeping for local softball leagues and baseball leagues when I was in school. Not quite as much pressure as, playing professional soccer matches and being expected to perform and progress. So Noah will give us a little bit of insight into that. Jarrett is gone, so we'll see if we can get him back at some point as everything drops out right as we go live. That'll be hour number 2. Let's see if Jarrett can function this time. You want to try that again, Jarrett?
Yeah. Okay. First of all,
I tried to cover for. Hey, I can't help it that
I literally got a phone call in the middle of a sentence, so my audio overrid
a little bit.
Okay.
The audio override hit real hard and just basically kicked me out of the show.
A little bit.
The audio doesn't care about my opinions. It's okay.
Nope.
No, I'm always impressed at any academy where you're taking 16-year-old kids, because, man, I can sit here and tell you 16-year-old me would not have been a professional at anything. It would have gone so horribly wrong.
I've seen you try to kick a soccer ball, Jared. It
Well,
wouldn't happen.
It's not even that. It's the emotional maturity that it takes to be a professional.
Yep.
And the discipline and the way you have to conduct yourself. Like, man, 16-year-old me couldn't have done that.
Well, that's what I was just saying. I mean, we all work jobs. A lot of us who are listening, a lot of us who are doing the show, we've all worked jobs during our school years. In high school, you're working much lower stress jobs than being a professional athlete and being expected to perform.
Yeah, I was flipping pizzas at a Mellow Mushroom and like sweeping up.
Flipping chicken wings, but yeah.
I mean, like, or also doing the cleaning theaters at a movie theater. I mean,
I didn't do that one.
Oh man, I don't recommend it. It's long hours. It sucks, especially when it's 22 screens and yeah, not great.
Yeah, it's one of those jobs that people probably won't know anything about in 10 years or so.
Yeah, really.
It's gonna be weird too, man. Yeah, it's a unique situation for everybody though, where you got a bunch of these kids who are and I think Tony Annan talked about this in the past about it's not just about being physically ready to play. It's about having that mental side, being ready emotionally, being able to handle the change in schedule, being able to handle being a professional, not just on the field, but off the field. So I'm infinitely impressed by anyone from any academy who can make that jump because I can tell you for a fact that 16-year-old me was not that person. It would have gone horribly wrong. I would never have gotten that opportunity. So credit to any of them that make it.
Yeah, it's a lot to balance. There's a lot to it. I mean, there is still a school component, all of that. We'll talk to Noah in hour number 2 about all of that. I was really happy to see that signing go down. I think he's one that maybe wasn't on as many people's radar last year. He's 15 and hadn't broken through until late in the season with the twos. And then you couldn't really get him out of the lineup. Jack Collison has put his trust in him. Tony Annan did. I think Tony either gave him his debut or brought him into the team for training before his debut. I know Tony was very high on Noah Cobb and had a lot of belief in him, and Jack has really pushed that through. And then Noah spent time with the first team in preseason. Gonzalo Pineda has a lot of trust in him. So where Noah Cobb is, just in case there was a little confusion on that announcement yesterday, he has signed a professional contract with Atlanta United 2 for the rest of this season. He will become a MLS homegrown signing January 1st. So he'll join Atlanta United's roster next year. Could still play with the twos next year on loan like we see players do, but he will be an MLS player next year. He is an Atlanta United 2 player this year. He could play Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup, which first round finished up yesterday. We can talk a little bit about that this morning as well. He can play in that. He could play in friendlies. He can be called up for that. He can be called up for short term for the first team. Remember, like Aiden McFadden was. Those things are all in play now. So Noah will join us in hour number 2. Niko Moreno will join us in hour number 2. I mentioned we have a game already in the books this morning. We have a couple, but the important one was in Sydney, Australia. And the Socceroos laid an egg, and things are not good for the Socceroos of Australia now. 2 late goals from Kaoru Mitoma of Japan, 89th minute, and then a second in the 94th. 2-0 win for Japan. First defeat on Australian soil in a World Cup qualifier since 1981. Australia is now going into the playoff in Asia to then get to the Interconfederational playoff to play the 5th place team from South America. That game also qualifies Japan and Saudi Arabia for the World Cup. So Asia is now much more clear. The question is who finishes third in Group A in the Asian qualification groups in this final round. Right now it's the United Arab Emirates. That team, third place, will play Australia in a 1-game. The winner of that will play the 5th place from South America to go. But a very disappointing home result for Australia this morning.
And to get into now, you're into a playoff to get into a playoff, possibly. I think that's how it is, right? You're going.
It's into 2 games. Don't make it more complicated. It's 2 games. They have to go. They have to win a game against an Asian team that gets them into the Interconfederational for the final 2 spots. And Asia plays CONMEBOL. They did a draw for that. CONCACAF got off lightly. The CONCACAF team that goes into the interconfederational side, they play Oceania. It'll probably be New Zealand, but that's not locked in just yet. That's a little bit easier matchup on paper. CONMEBOL and Asia, and it's potentially Australia. They got to win a game to get there. That's a tough road for them. We'll see if they can pull it off. Really disappointing qualification run for a team with a good bit of expectations. Jarrett, you're at least one of your Celtic signings. I'm not sure how many were part of this Japanese national team, but Celtic is fueling Japan's road to the World Cup.
I mean, if you want to build that narrative, go ahead.
I figured you'd
enjoy
it.
They'll also be hurt by the Australian side because Tom Rogic, is Australian midfielder. So someone will always be happy, someone will always be sad.
That's life.
Ain't it though? Aside from that, though, I mean, it's if for no other reason, it was just wild to see this situation, where Australia's losing at home. And now in a tight spot here. And you go back, I think 2 windows ago, Japan was the one who was, no one was really, not really sure if Japan's going to get in without having to go through a playoff. But Japan pulled it together, got some results to go their way. And now Australia's the one who you're kind of side-eyeing. It can change very quickly.
Yeah, well, there's not a lot of time for things to change quickly in any other way. Keep that in mind. We're pretty much at the end here. But Japan lost 2 of their first 3. They lost the first game in this final round at home to Oman, which shocked everybody. They then went to China and won 1-0, or I think that was on neutral soil. They lost at Saudi Arabia, who is going to win this group, it appears. And then they reeled off 6 straight wins. They beat Australia at home 2-1. They beat Saudi Arabia in Japan 2-0, and now they go to Sydney and win 2-0. So Japan's going to the World Cup. Saudi Arabia is locked in. Australia's got a couple of games to get there, and we will see who they will face later on. One of the teams that they could have faced is also laying an egg this morning. Lebanon was in the mix to be that third-place team in Group A. They are trailing 3-0 to Syria, which is completely unexpected when you look at how Syria has performed at this point. They had not won a game so far. It's in the 48th minute, but they are 3-0 up, 48th minute. Lebanon needed to win to pull closer to the UAE. UAE plays Iraq later today. Justin Merrim back with the Iraqi national team after they made a coaching change. If Iraq wins, they can go to 8 points. If Syria holds, they'll be on 5. They can't catch UAE. Lebanon will still be in the mix if UAE does not win today or draw. If UAE wins or draws, they lock into that playoff spot. If they lose, then Iraq has an opportunity on the last day. Lebanon would still be in the mix, but would need some wild results. And they go to Iran on the last day, so it's very unlikely that happens. Syria and Iraq play, and the UAE faces South Korea, who has already qualified on the last day. So Asia is a little complicated, but this result with Syria and Lebanon really kind of puts it down to Iraq and UAE, and Iraq really needs to win too. And they get a chance to knock off UAE today. That'll be an interesting game this afternoon at 1:00, and you can watch that on Paramount+.
Yeah, it was a massive delay to start the second half in that Lebanon match, and you had multiple officials with multiple walkie-talkies trying to sort something out. And
do you have any idea what the delay was?
That's why I was trying to pull my headset off and listen to now that the second half is underway to see if there's any ideas. But it's a massive delay to start. So they're 13 minutes behind the other match currently going on right now, and Lebanon needs 4 in a hurry.
Yeah, doubt that's going to happen. The other game in Asia will not affect anything with the table. Vietnam and Oman are scoreless in the 62nd. All right, so Asia, again, the big game to watch later is 1:00, Iraq and the United Arab Emirates. We move on to Europe because we get into single-game knockouts in Europe today. Russia, Poland, Russia's not playing, they're out. That one's easy. Poland advances. Scotland, Ukraine pushed back to June. That is on hold right now. The winner of that will play the winner of Wales and Australia today. Sweden, Czech Republic is today. Portugal, Turkey is today. Italy, North Macedonia is today. Couple of updates on these games. Gareth Bale spoke yesterday. Remember, he was ill, or it was put down to illness, why he didn't factor in for Real Madrid on the weekend. Gareth Bale says he's fit. Gareth Bale says if he has to go 120 minutes today, he's good to go to 120 minutes. The Welsh cure, whatever it is, Jarrett, has made Gareth Bale whole again.
I think it's being away from Real Madrid. That's the cure.
I think it's almost like he does this stuff just to tick off Real Madrid people.
He might.
I think he's giggling.
There's a bit of heel in there with him, and it's very interesting. But
is he going to do an elbow drop on a Real Madrid jersey when he leaves?
Man, he might.
Like Ric Flair in the ring, he might just drop an elbow on the jersey and walk out the door.
He might. There's no telling with him.
Or hit it with a golf club.
And the thing is, he doesn't have to do anything other than get Wales to the World Cup to antagonize basically all of Madrid that cares, half of Madrid that cares about his team. He can't play in league games. Why not? I don't know, but he just dragged Wales to the World Cup final. So yeah, awkward for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this with him. 42 matches in all competitions for Real Madrid this season. Gareth Bale's played in 5 of them. He's played 270 minutes. That's the equivalent of 3 games. For Wales, in this current season, where Madrid's played 42 and he's played 5, and he's played 270 in minutes, he's played 233 minutes for Wales across 4 games. I am intrigued by this.
He just seems magically healthier for his national team than he does for his club, Don't know what it is, but yeah, he seems to be just absolutely fit when the moment suits him, especially when it comes to country as opposed to club.
Well, the odds makers don't know what to make of this game. Wales are ranked 20th in the FIFA rankings currently. Austria is ranked 30th. And SofaScore, which pulls odds from different places, they have it as a straight-up push across the board, plus 175 for both teams, plus 190 on the draw. This is in Cardiff, but complete toss-up according to the odds makers. I'm sure, John, you can go through the portal and find one group's got it here, one group's got it here, and it skews this way and it skews that way. Basically, it's a toss-up.
As I sit here and look at it, the range is there. I mean, legitimately, this is about as tight a range as I've seen for everybody across the board for either side and the draw. I mean, there's not a whole lot of divergent. The extremes aren't there. They really have no earthly idea what to do with this. And like I said, I'm looking at one that's got about 15 different juice box purveyors right there in the middle for all 3.
Yeah, I mean, Jarrett, that's kind of the point here. If SofaScore's pulling it and they got it even, like nobody's gonna have it completely Austria's a huge favorite or completely Wales a huge favorite. Nobody's gonna go that far out on a limb. It's a total toss-up, and somebody like Gareth Bale in a game like this can be the difference.
Yeah, we've seen him do it for Real Madrid. We've seen him do it for Wales. This is not a situation where you're expecting. We talked about this the other day. You don't need Gareth Bale to be like, hey, I need Gareth Bale for a whole season. No, you need him for 90 minutes, and then you need him for 90 more minutes.
You might need him for 120. Keep that in mind.
You might. I mean,
he says he can go 120.
Ideally, you need him for 90 minutes, and you need what? 2 brilliant one brilliant moment maybe out of him.
Maybe that's all.
And he can get you through because it should be push otherwise. So it's going to be dicey for everyone involved. And I'm very interested to see the El Chiringuito reactions if Wales goes through with a 1-0 win with Gareth Bale just pulling something out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's going to get out of hand. Head-to-head, 10 meetings between these two all-time. Home Nation have won 3 of them. Visitors have won 5. 2 draws between them. Last time they played was a 2018 World Cup qualifying match. Wales won that one, 1-0. Current form, Wales is unbeaten in their last 5, but 3 draws in there. That just takes you to extra time in this. Austria have won 3 of their last 5 and lost the other 2. Both teams have a couple of issues here and there. Wales have not lost at home since 2018. That's probably the biggest thing here if you're looking at form. Austria won 5 of 10 in World Cup qualifying. They conceded 17 goals in those 10. They're here because of their Nations League performances. I would give the favorite tag to Wales, not by a lot, but at least a little bit because of home field and just how good they've been at home. The winner of that will play the winner of Scotland and Ukraine at some point in June. Other games in Europe, Sweden and the Czech Republic. Sweden lost their last 2 qualifying games. They had a chance to go automatically to the World Cup. They blew it. They lost to Georgia. They lost to Spain. Czech Republic. They started with 1 win in their first 3. They won 3 of the next 5. They finished 3rd in the group. This is an opportunity for the Czechs to get to the World Cup for the first time since 2006. First time these teams have ever met in a competitive match. 3 times, all friendlies. Sweden brought Anthony Elanga in from Manchester United. First time he's been called up. Zlatan is suspended for this one. On the Czech side of things, Patrick Schick is injured with a calf injury. That's a big loss for the Czech Republic. No Zlatan, no Schick. Sweden is a big favorite here at home, -110. Czechs are +350. Draw 220. Elanga could be the wild card, John, here. You're muted, John.
Yeah,
good job.
That's what happens. I'm trying to look at numbers and at the same time talk to you. No, and you have somebody in Anthony Elanga who's the hot hand, and in qualifiers, you look at recent form to try to figure out if you want to plug him into the lineup. We've seen recently that Elanga has answered the challenge in the Premier League. This is an entirely different animal, but you see someone with what he's been doing. I could see Elanga being that guy that you might look to for the result in a match like this that's important. It's a different step and a different stage for him on the international stage as opposed to club. But no, I could definitely see him being the that name that you focus on in this match.
Couple of things quickly. Bernd might be a little biased on the Wales-Austria game, possibly just a little. Says they have literally double the transfer market of Wales. Shouldn't be close, says it might be due to the pressure situation, but Austria should beat them easily. Wales hadn't lost at home since 2018. Gareth Bale might ruin your day. All the odds makers though this is a toss-up, Bird. I don't think it's going to be anything easy in this one. We'll see. That's going to be a fun one. And I agree with you. There's no telling what happens with Scotland and Ukraine in June. What I'm saying is just where it is officially right now. There's no way to predict what the Ukrainian situation is by the time we get to June. I don't know if it can be pushed back any further, and that gets really complicated. The World Cup draw, by the way, is going to be done April 1st. That's not a joke. It is literally going to be April 1st. No, not everybody in the world follows our April Fool's Day stuff, John. So FIFA doesn't really care about that. You got the Dia de los Inocentes, different dates in different countries, and that's the equivalent of it in Latin America. So you got to have your head on a swivel on those days. They are going to do it then. So teams that have not qualified are going into the playoffs, like a slot is drawn. I mean, I just don't know how much further you could push it back. And I don't know how it's going to get handled, but for now, that's where it stands for now. Abby, of course, FIFA doesn't care about anything but their pocketbook, but this is a different conversation. And look, like I know there's a lot of conversations about this, and we've talked about sports washing and all of it. People are going to be talking about all of the issues that Qatar has and has had and what they did to get this World Cup. And that's going to be part of the conversation around this World Cup, that, you wanted attention, well, you're going to get it. And that's what's about to happen with all of this. But I don't think FIFA's done anything wrong when it comes to the Ukraine and Russia situation yet. And because they've done things wrong in the past and other things, I'm not going to say that they're just out for money in Ukraine and Scotland. Let's keep the FIFA slander correct, because there's plenty of things in that bucket to pull from. We don't have to add to it yet. Give them a little bit of time. I'm sure they'll do something stupid the next week or so. Other games in Europe today: Portugal, Turkey, big one. Two big powerhouse teams. Portugal hosting. They are number 8 in the world according to the FIFA rankings. This is being played in Porto. Turkey is number 39. Portugal's a huge favorite, minus 278. Turkey's a plus 650 on this one. The 90-minute draw is plus 400. Now, Portugal defensively nowhere near whole here. Ruben Dias out injured. Pepe tested positive for COVID. He's still playing at 38. Joao Cancelo suspended. Ruben Neves of Wolves sidelined due to injury. Leon goalkeeper Anthony Lopez out due to injury. Renato Sanchez injured or suspended. No major players for Turkey suspended or injured. They will be at full strength. All that said, is this guy, Cristiano Ronaldo. He's pretty good. He's going to be a bit of a problem here. But those numbers feel, with all of those issues for Portugal, they feel a little too far on the Portuguese side. You might want to look at the upset here.
I was going to ask about the big underdogs today and what directions you might go.
That's one that wouldn't shock me because of all the defensive issues that Portugal's got. I'm not touching it. I think at home in a knockout game in this situation, I'm probably leaning home teams all the way. Wales and Austria is the biggest toss-up with that. Sweden should be able to figure it out against the Czech Republic. I think Portugal's going to have to sweat. I could see extra time. I could see the 90-minute draw. I could see a sloppy goal given up here or there. But I think Portugal's got enough to get through this. Bruno Fernandes has to be Portugal Bruno Fernandes, as he's been at times, not Manchester United Bruno Fernandes, which he's inconsistently been good and bad there. He's got to be the good Bruno. And can he? Yeah, he's got it in him. I don't know. Portugal, I don't know how to read. I think they got enough. I think they will get through. Italy, North Macedonia is the other game to be played in Europe today. Italy, number 6 in the world. North Macedonia, number 67. The Italians, minus 556 in this one. North Macedonia, plus 1,400. Draw is plus 600. Italy should get through here. They are not whole in the back either. Keep that in mind. They're facing the biggest underdogs in this, but Italy should have enough to get through, right?
Yes. I mean, I know that we go back to the Euros last year and we saw what North Macedonia did. And, you know, you lose one of your veteran talents who retires from European and international football, and you don't have that fulcrum there for you. I know that Nick won't come anywhere to touch it, but I'm fairly certain that Italy should get something done here. I just think that North Macedonia is not the same team that they were a year ago as they've come through qualification.
No, they're not. Italy's not either, but we're talking about a much bigger gap in quality. The winner of this will play the winner of Portugal and Turkey. Bonucci, Chiellini, not fully fit. One might play, the other might play. You might try to hold them for the next game if they get through. You know, you've never had the replacements, which in this case would be Bastoni and Acerbi. You've never had them play together. It's always been one for one of Bonucci or Chiellini during this cycle for Italy. It hasn't been both Bonucci and Chiellini out. Okay. Also keep in mind, as Football Italia points out, Acerbi and Bastoni are both lefties. So things change just a little bit when you have two left-footed center backs. And I know that's a magic word, and people will be very excited because you mentioned left-footed center backs. Italy should have the ball. North Macedonia will probably sit back, try to hold it, try to play for a counter, maybe try to play for penalties. Italy's got to create those opportunities. I think they will. I don't think they'll create a ton. I think they are, going to be reliant on a Lorenzo Insigne to turn back the years a little bit. You're going to be reliant on an attacker to win some 1v1s. Insigne is probably the guy that can lead them in this. but they're going to have to be more productive in the attack because I think North Macedonia is going to give them a lot of the ball. So we'll see where this goes. It could be a lot of suffering, but I could see Italy winning 1-0 on a goal late in the second half. I think North Macedonia will make it difficult for them.
Nick Alifi might crash the show if, depending on what happens with Italy tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, well, if they get knocked out, then it's 2 World Cups in a row that they're out, and that's not good. They did win a Euro, so that probably assuages it somewhat, but not that much because the World Cup's the World Cup, and you miss 2 in a row. That's
It actually would be hilarious from a from a faraway view as looking at this as a non-fan for you to miss 2 World Cups and sandwich that with a Euro win. That's genuinely hilarious, but also tragic if you're an Italy fan and very confusing.
I'll tell you what, Jared, I'm not laughing if that happens because I value my life.
That's fine.
I will not be laughing.
Nick won't kill blood. He'll go ahead.
He might not, but there's plenty of other Italians out there that I'm not trusting it. No, I'm not laughing because hey,
I get it, man, but that's just to miss. If you miss 2 World Cups and in the middle of that win the Euros, that's amazing. Like that's just weird.
Well,
that's going to be a trivia question for a long time.
Well, you might have one in CONCACAF as well if the U.S. Doesn't get it done, and because Gold Cup in the middle, failing to qualify for 2. We'll see where that goes. So I'm not going to be laughing too hard about any of it. I'll tell you that much. South America, it's not going to happen there because Argentina won the last Copa America. They are qualified. Brazil is qualified. Argentina plays tomorrow against Venezuela in a game for pride. It does not matter in terms of the table as Venezuela has been eliminated. So where things stand in South America, these games are at 7:30 tonight. You can watch on Fubo TV. I believe all of the UEFA games you can watch on ESPN Plus, if I'm not mistaken. John's staring at me for a second. I think that's true. Is that true?
I'm double checking. That's why I was when you said ESPN Plus. That's why I'm gravitating to their guide just to double check.
All right, double check for me. But I'm almost positive of that. If I'm wrong, correct it. If not, it's ESPN Plus. South America, we know it's on Fubo TV, English or Spanish. I signed up for the Spanish language package, and I dropped my Spanish language package on Comcast. I have to go with Comcast for the super duper internet here. I can't do the cord cutting thing yet because I got to have the powerful internet to give you the show. So Fubo's been great. Fubo has the games for me in Spanish tonight. I will be flipping around quite a bit because it's an interesting set of games. Chile going to Brazil. They have to get something out of it to stay alive. Colombia has to beat Bolivia at home in Barranquilla. Paraguay hosting Ecuador. A draw for Ecuador is enough for them to clinch a spot in the World Cup. And Uruguay and Peru hosting in Montevideo. If Uruguay wins and Chile doesn't win, then Uruguay clinches a spot. So you could have South American automatic spots done by the end of the night. Done. Ricky Ricardo, no. DM Tim, South America is not on Fanati's. It is only on Fubo TV. Only on Fubo TV. They got the exclusive rights to it. So you got a couple weird situations here in South America. You could have the 4 automatic spots done by the end of the night. You could have 2 of them up for grabs on the last day. The 5th place spot right now is Peru. That can get really interesting. Mentioned it. Brazil, Argentina through. Ecuador's on 25. Uruguay's on 22. Peru's on 21. Chile is 6th. They're on the outside. They're on 19. That's why they need to get something out of Brazil, which, yeah, good luck. Colombia is on 17. They are the last one that's still alive on the outside looking in. So what can Chile do in Brazil? They're a plus 800 to win, plus 333 to get a draw, minus 250 for Brazil here. It's not all that likely that you're going to see Chile get something out of this to stay alive. Was checking to see on Brazil if we knew anything about potential absences or anything since they're already through. It's a little hard to call what Brazil and Argentina do in this since they're already through. Argentina's called a lot of different people into their group. Looks like they might be stealing a youth international from Spain. He's deleted all the Spanish stuff off of his Instagram profile, and now it's all Argentina because he's in camp. So, Lionel Messi is expected to be in the Argentina squad to face Venezuela, according to reports. But Brazil, how do they handle it? There is a bit of a pride thing about finishing World Cup qualifying without a loss. There's also a bit of a pride thing between Brazil and Argentina about finishing on top of the table. Chile has lost 2 of their last 3. All of the teams on the outside, Chile and Colombia, who have a shot, not in good form right now. Peru has bounced back in a big way with 3 wins out of their last 4 and a draw. Uruguay has bounced back in an even bigger way with 2 wins under Diego Alonso, former Monterrey and Miami manager. He righted the ship that was ground ashore under Tabares. It just completely had gone stale for him. Ecuador in third. Look, they've only won 2 of their last 5. They've got 3 draws, but they built up such a cushion that all they need is 1 point. All they need is 1 point. What bold proclamations are you making, Jared, about South America?
Man, I won't be here to suffer the consequences of my decisions to say that Colombia might not make the World Cup.
I don't think they make the World Cup. I told Niko that before. I'll say it again. Sorry, Niko. It's nothing personal.
I will stay on the bandwagon. I have enough Ecuadorians in my life through college and post-college life that I will happily pull for Ecuador to make some noise in the World Cup. Not just qualify, but make a little bit of noise in there too. That'd be really enjoyable because I could watch some people do some wild stuff. I mean, and I saw Ricky Ricardo mentioned it. Like, yeah, man, it ain't gonna happen this time. I don't know if it'll happen in his career, but yeah, it'd be great to see Joseph make the World Cup. It's
not happening this time.
I know. That's why I said it's not. I don't know if it's going to happen.
This time they should have done better. They honestly, with the talent they have, they should not be at the bottom of the table with 10 points, 3 wins, 12 losses out of 16, only 14 goals. They've never been. They've never pulled it off. I thought this would be a cycle that they would actually compete, but it started so badly. And remember, I mean, Joseph wasn't happy with the previous manager. You had a lot of infighting. They've got Jose Pekerman there now, who did great work with Argentina's youth national teams, great work with the Colombian national team. He's there. He's older. Is he going to be the one who is on the touchline through the 26 campaign, or is he going to be one who sets the table for that and oversees it? I don't know. But they actually have a top guy in charge now. And I think there's a lot of promise. These last 2 games for them are kind of about setting that table for upcoming Copa Americas and upcoming qualification campaigns. But this has been a big disappointment. And I think that's fair to say. This is a group that should have done better in this.
Yeah, they should have. And will they do better in the next cycle? I don't know, man. But you're coming up on, you're coming up and hopefully getting more of these young players who are getting more exposure in bigger leagues, and hopefully that will mean something for them. But it's getting crowded. I mean, yeah, Colombia had a bad cycle this time, might miss a World Cup. It's a different Ecuador team than you saw 4 years ago. Different countries are finding themselves in different ways. And it's not going to be easy. It's never easy in CONMEBOL. Like, we've been over this before. You're going to have your standards of, Argentina and Brazil, and other teams might kind of change their order as they go along, but it's never going to be like, man, this will be a weak cycle so Venezuela can get in, or Paraguay can get in. It's going to be tough. It's always going to be an absolute rock fight in the closet. It's just kind of how it is in CONMEBOL. Good luck, everybody.
How do the rocks get into the closet, Jarrett?
Oh, you bring them in. You bring your own rocks.
Okay, just checking.
You have to. If you don't bring your own rocks, you've lost the second the door closes.
Well, yeah. Never had a rock fight in the closet, so I was just checking. I don't know the rules on that. Chile has not had long-term success against Brazil at all. Head-to-head, 74 times they've played. Brazil have won 53 of them. Keep an eye on Ben Brereton Diaz for Chile. He's got an injury, hasn't played in quite a while for Blackburn. There's some talk that because of the situation with this game being very, very difficult for Chile to get through, that they might hold him for their last game. They might have to cross their fingers that their last game matters. He's nowhere near 100%, and he's got 4 goals for them. He's been really, one of their spark plugs here. Beyond him, you've got a lot of veterans for Chile, but you've got a lot of old legs for Chile as well. Arturo Vidal trying to get his way out of Inter. Alexis Sanchez is there. Gary Medel is still around. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys with more than 100 caps part of this team. That's good and bad in this kind of situation. I think Brazil gets the win and opens the door for Uruguay to potentially lock up their spot tonight. Now, they host Peru. Talked about the form and how it's turned. The odds reflect that. Uruguay, minus 189. Peru, plus 650. Draw, plus 260. A draw would be outstanding for Ricardo Gareca and Peru. They would be in fine spot with that. Looking ahead, that would put them to 22 points. Chile would be 3 points back. Now, goal differential. Okay, Chile, depending on how bad they lose to Brazil, it could be very even between Chile and Peru. And you go into the last day, and Chile's got a fighting chance. You got to look at Colombia. You have to expect them to beat Bolivia. We'll talk about that more with Niko Moreno later on. But Peru, a draw would be just fine. And can Uruguay continue this form under Alonso? All time in this, 70 matches, Uruguay, 38 wins. Peru, 17. 15 draws. That's the all-time. For Uruguay, team news. Matias Vecino, positive for COVID. He's out of the group. Fabrizio Diaz and Manuel Ugarte are part of it. No injuries, no suspensions for Uruguay there. On the Peruvian side, no Jefferson Farfan, no Paulo Guerrero, both injured. Jose Carvalho is out with appendicitis. Miguel Araujo is out with COVID. He's out for both of the games. And you have Raciel Garcia with a suspension due to yellow card accumulation. So Peru is not whole. They do have Pedro Galese. They do have Alexander Callens. They do have Yoshimar Yotun, who you remember from his days in MLS. Edison Flores of DC United. Christian Cueva. And the big guy for Peru has been the dual national, Gianluca Lapadula. He has been scoring a ton of goals for them, and Ricardo Gareca has them firing. I can see a draw here. Uruguay, look, Luis Suarez is going to play, even though he hasn't been playing a lot lately. Edinson Cavani is going to play, hasn't been playing a lot lately. We know what those guys can give you, but we know they're older, and we know they're not playing consistently. Can they get this done? I think they can, but I think Peru does enough to get a point out of this and make that last day a little bit of chaos.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I was the one-sided plus 600 or whatever you look at, plus 650 for Peru to win outright. I can't go there, but I can certainly go with a draw option here when you're in the plus 250 range. I could definitely see something like that. I know initially you look at a large number like what we're seeing with Peru, and you're drawn to it because of these two teams being as close as they are in the table. But I'll take the middle option and go draw here. I know that's no surprise.
Yeah. I'm going draw. Look, I know Mataflo's freaking out. I'm going draw. I think Uruguay gets a little tight here. I'm not completely buying into the Diego Alonso renaissance, and I think Peru can get something out of it. Colombia-Bolivia, we'll get into detail with it with Niko Moreno, but Bolivia, much different team away from home than they are at home. They've had a good campaign, 15 points. If they'd gotten results in the last cycle, they could have been in the mix here. They are not. Colombia in Barranquilla, they lost there in the last cycle, which opens up some questions, but they are trying to get a win on the eve of Carnival and have a weekend-long party in Colombia, in Barranquilla here. We'll see if they can do it. They should. We'll see what Niko thinks a little bit later. The other game tonight is Ecuador. Ecuador is at Paraguay. Odds on this one, Ecuador's the favorite, plus 140. Draws plus 190. Paraguay plus 230. Some questions about Paraguay and where things stand. A lot of news coming out of England right now on one Miguel Almiron. And reportedly, according to Football Insider, he will be leaving Newcastle in the summer. 15 million pounds is the magic number, it sounds like. Graham Bailey on the football show this morning was very negative about Miguel Almiron's performances at Newcastle during his whole run and said that he told everybody that he wasn't good enough. I think there's some things about where he's been played that have factored in, but there's also some things about lately Miguel hasn't played very well, and that is very true. So it's a far more complicated bag when you're talking about Miguel Almiron at Newcastle. But when you start talking about Miguel Almiron's long-term future, a game like tonight in a World Cup qualifier with a lot of eyeballs on it can start to go a long way about attracting where that future could be. Outside of that, Paraguay doesn't really have a whole lot to play for here. They have not been good in this cycle at all. They've been very dour, very blech. Can they be very blech here? Ecuador can be fine with that as long as they get a draw. I mean, I don't think Ecuador is going to be completely risking everything in this one. All they need is a point to clinch. I think they get it. I think they get the point. And I think they get it here. And that's somewhat down to Paraguay not really being capable of a whole lot more and Ecuador being fine with that. I think it's a 1-1 draw, and that's enough, and Ecuador clinches their qualification.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that too.
Yeah, well, Chara, I know we're playing narratives down here this morning, but yes, you can say both about Miguel Almiron. No, I think it's completely unfair to say that, there's obvious he wasn't going to make it. No, that's not true. He's a weird guy to quantify in terms of position. He hasn't been good enough lately. He was good enough once they actually found a position for him. But he hasn't really been given much of a shot under Eddie Howe, and he hasn't played well when he has been given a shot. So it's a complicated situation. And when you play narratives down here, look, you don't like complications, do you? You want to make it one or the other, and it's never anywhere in the gray area, right? Everything's in the gray area, and we know that. So I want to see where he ends up next. 15 million is a reasonable price tag for a player of his quality, but he doesn't fit into every system. And you have to know what you're getting. I don't think Steve Bruce really knew what he was getting, and I don't think he played him a lot of times in positions that suited him. Eventually found some positions that suited him, but in general didn't really play him enough in places that suited him. I think Miguel Almiron's an 8. I think he's an 8. I think play him as an 8. He's not a true 10. I don't think he's a true winger. If you're going to really get crazy with it, could you convert him to a wing back? That's possible, but I think he's an 8. And that's where I would play him. If I've got a 6 who can sit at home and do the job of the defensive midfielder, and if I'm playing with a 10, I might not be playing with a 10. If you're playing with a little bit of an empty bucket, okay, I think Miguel Almiron can fit that. But he's not a playmaker. He's not a true 10. He is an 8. And you've got to bring him into a team that is going to use him to get the best out of him. Newcastle hasn't done that. So, but he's also got to play better too. So it's all over the map. It's shades of gray, as pretty much the world is these days. What do you think is next for Miguel Almiron, Jarrett?
Man, is it like Portugal or Italy or something like that? I mean, is that where you go with him?
15 mil might not work for Portugal, but it could definitely work for Italy and some of Spain.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's where he needs to go and just kind of get a reset on it. Don't start up your MLS talk again, please. That was just, I don't know where that came from.
No, I don't think that's completely out of the realm of possibility either, honestly. But
I think he's going to want to stay in Europe, personally.
But yeah, Jared, that sounds great. I want a pony.
We can get you one.
But no, you're not. I don't have anywhere to put a pony.
I was going to say it wouldn't fit in the office.
Like, that's the thing is,
yes, God, this would be amazing.
But he definitely wants to stay in Europe. But is the right deal going to be there for him to stay in Europe? It might not be. It honestly might not be. And that's life. And his best spot could be coming back into MLS. It could be going into a Flamengo or a big team in Brazil. Look, it could be a club like Club America. I mean, that's a lot for them, but it's possible. He might be in a better spot in a place like that. It might not be the right spot to go to a European club. It might not. Just to say that he would want to stay there, he might not have that choice.
I think he'll get options, whether or not he likes them, whether or not they fit him. I think he'll get options to stay there. Now, if it's what you could absolutely convince me of, and you might be right. Maybe he comes back right now. What you could convince me of is if he goes somewhere else and it doesn't work, that he's back in America in 2 years. And whether that's North America or South America, he's back on the Western Hemisphere in the New World in the next 2 years if things don't go great for him. I am happy to rekindle my Miguel Almiron equals, not exactly, but is in the realm of Pity Martinez treatment whenever we are ready. In that Pity was beloved at River and didn't work out in Atlanta. Miguel is damn near immortal in Atlanta and didn't work out in Newcastle. Doesn't mean the player's not good.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean the player's not good. And it's not a one for, I told you, it's not a one for one.
Yeah.
It's not a one for one comparison. But especially with the way treatment has been from fans and pundits in England.
Oh, no, not from fans. No. Newcastle fans love Miguel Almiron. Let's not. No. That's not true.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me clarify. I'm talking about fans in Atlanta and then from pundits in England. Sorry.
Yeah, but that's where one of the big differences here. The pundits in England, I don't think have understood Miguel's game, and I don't think the leadership at Newcastle originally understood Miguel's game. But the fans loved him when he came to Newcastle, and they still do, because we know we've seen him play. He's fun. He's fast. He works hard. All those things that a fan will love. No, Pity didn't get that love from Atlanta United fans consistently like Miguel's gotten it from Newcastle. It's been more the pundits, but it's also been the coaches. And that's the biggest difference for me is Miguel hasn't always been put in a position for success. I think it's affected his confidence. I think that's one reason why his performances haven't been as good when he has gotten opportunities. And that's ultimately on him at the end of the day, and it's going to affect where he ends up. I don't know. I don't think it's a slam dunk he's still in Europe. If a club in this hemisphere comes in with a good enough deal, it might be the best spot that he could land. He's 28. So you are kind of thinking at this point, all right, where's my big salary going to come from? It might not be from a European team. It might be from a Brazilian team. It might be from a Club America. It might be from an MLS team. And all those things are on the table. So just stay tuned on the next for Miguel Almiron. But I think the process of where he could end up starts with these performances with Paraguay. And it's him playing for his future for Paraguay. That's really where Paraguay is right now. I don't think that's enough for them to put a strong performance together. They've lost 4 of their last 5. They could lose this to Ecuador. I think they probably sit back and try not to lose. And I think Ecuador tries not to lose. And I think it's one of those kind of 1-1 draws that everybody's kind of okay with by the end of the day, because Ecuador's then booking tickets. They're booking tickets to the World Cup. It's been a great campaign for Ecuador. I've said it a million times. This is a team that if you are a neutral watching South American World Cup qualifiers and you don't want to pick one of the heavyweights like Brazil or Argentina, Ecuador's a team you should watch. It is a very fun team and a lot of potential, a lot of raw potential, a lot of really talented players, that English coaches don't necessarily embrace or respect the way that they should. Yes, Graham Potter talking to you. But a really good team and a really fun team. And I'm really happy for our Ecuadorian fans after they clinch tonight, because I think they will. I think they get a 1-1 draw is my prediction against Paraguay.
And on that note, I'm leaving. Sorry, I'm out of flow for breaking the Hernan Crespo news to you at like 11 o'clock last night.
Yeah, I'm not happy about that.
Yeah, nobody was. The what that I heard in the Discord voice chat, it was the sound of hope dying. Hernan Crespo is going to Qatar, if you haven't heard. So
yeah, I expected more from him.
Yeah, well, he's getting paid.
Well, yeah, and look, you got to get paid, and you got a family, and you got to provide. I get that. I don't think he's there very long. I think he is somebody who is there to get that paycheck, and when he gets the opportunity to bounce back as Jarrett leaves us, he will. If I was an MLS team looking for a manager, and Crespo would be one person I'd be calling. If I was a Liga MX team looking for a manager, that's a name I'd be calling. Really good soccer he played with his Defensa y Justicia teams. Not as much in Brazil, but not awful in Brazil either. And we know how difficult that can be. I thought his Defensa teams and winning the Copa Sudamericana is one of the most impressive managerial performances we've seen in a while. And I'm just surprised that he hasn't had a bigger opportunity since his time in Brazil ended. Miguel Angel Ramirez went that same path. He won Copa Sudamericana with a smaller team, Independiente del Valle, went to Brazil. It didn't work out. He went to Charlotte. And he's building something. It's interesting. St. Louis isn't going to do that. But, if I'm Las Vegas and I get my team together and I've got somebody I can put in place for time and pay him nicely and bring him to Vegas and let him build the team that he wants, Hernan Crespo might be on my list right there. That would be an interesting hire. All right, John, tell us about our good friends over at As My Music Disappears. Good timing right there. You'll do it sound music. You do it a cappella. Tell us about our good friends, Eliminize.
I can certainly do that. QR code over my left shoulder for those of you watching on Twitch for odor-free, clean, fresh air. One place you need to go, it's Eliminize Service. Eliminize Service deodorizes enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos. They've created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pet cigarettes and food. Realtors and property managers use Eliminize Service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. It's a turnkey process that makes it easy to work with realtors and property managers. Kind of the environment, that's what we like these days. It's a very green way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue, different than our favorite masking agents that we have under the sink, because those masking agents, all they do is take care of the odor. They don't attack the problem. Eliminize does that all the way down to the molecule with a scientific formula that has been proven effective in manners like that. Pricing's easy, one of two ways, either by cubic feet or parts per million, to come up with a price that's affordable for you, offering results in 24 hours or less. If you have any questions, frequently asked or otherwise, one place you need to go, it's their website, eliminize.com. But do us a favor, after the .com, go /Atlanta so they know what part of the world that you are reaching out to them from. So it is ELIMINIZE.com /Atlanta, eliminize.com /Atlanta for odor-free, clean, fresh air. Eliminize Service, proud sponsors of everything SDH.
Nicely done. The music was just a little late. Needed to be restarted there. Good times. Love when the program just stares at me and doesn't want to open when it's time for it to open. It's always good.
The match has been currently abandoned in Lebanon with 20 minutes to go.
Why? Do we know why? That's kind of important. What?
Yes. Fans were throwing objects. This is in Lebanon. So Lebanon player gets a second yellow, and fans, they're still down 3-0, 20 to go. They start throwing objects at the Syrian bench. And so after another huddle with referees and officials, both the refs and officials have been everybody off the pitch right now. So I am staring at a wide shot right now.
So it's not been abandoned now.
Suspended.
Yeah, that's a very different thing to say.
Suspended with 20 to go.
Interrupted is what SofaScore has listed to it. So they might continue it. Whatever, throw them out. They've pretty much blown their opportunity here for getting into the World Cup playoff anyway, because they play Iran in round 10, and they're going to have to win that by a big score and hope for help. And their fans have done really stupid things out of anger because they've watched their team lay an egg in this game. That doesn't justify it by any stretch. And if that means you throw this game out and you go to Iran, they don't have a home game left. But if they have future home games that matter without fans, good, because the stuff has got to get eradicated because it happens everywhere, and it's happening everywhere all the time now, and it's absurd, and it's got to stop. World Cup qualifying, lots of that today. U.S. Open Cup round 1 ended yesterday. We'll get Noah Cobb on the show here shortly as he prepares for a Regen Day at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Training Ground. I believe might have the day off after the game last night. A tough game for Atlanta United 2 last night, as the Tampa Bay Rowdies were outstanding and showed why they're a USL Cup contender, in my opinion. 3-0 win for the Rowdies, just complete domination for Tampa Bay. One of the best teams in USL Championship. One of the teams to watch on a Lamar Hunt US Open Cup run. They'll host the Villages in round number 2. The Villages won 2 days ago. Yesterday, your winners in the Lamar Hunt US Open Cup. Western Mass Pioneers won 2-0 over Brockton FC United. Penalties, the Lansdowne boys go through 4-3 after 2 early goals, and it finished 1-1 after extra time. Lynchburg and Nova, the match was suspended in the 77th minute due to lightning. I'm assuming that is going to be completed today. At least those are two teams that are close by one another, so that's a pretty easy one to get finished, but they got to finish it fast. I did not see an update on when that was getting finished. South Carolina United FC Bantams lost at home to NC Fusion U23s, the former Carolina Dynamo. Kind of a wild one. The Bantams got the goal in the 38th, 82nd minute equalizer, and then 2 goals in extra time win it for the Fusion. Miami United FC beat their rivals City Soccer FC 3-1. Des Moines Menace 4-2 over Minneapolis City. There was a golazo for Minneapolis City. I did see that clip last night. But 4-2 for the Menace. Tulsa Athletic 3-0 over Azteca FC. San Fernando Valley 6-2 over Escondido FC. Las Vegas Legends beat Park City Red Wolves 3-2 in a tight one. And Portland Timbers U23s beat Contra Costa 2-1. So we know everybody who's into the second round in the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. Atlanta United comes in the third round, and they'll play. We don't know yet. The draw will be done after the second round concludes. It'll be regional, and they'll kind of put them into a pod of 4 teams. So Atlanta United could be in with teams like Birmingham Legion if they advance. Southern States FC out of Mississippi, if they advance, they play one another in round 2. You've got 2 teams out of Chattanooga that could be geographically matched up with Atlanta United. Chattanooga FC plays Memphis of the USL Championship. The Red Wolves have to go to Louisville to play a really tough opponent for them. You've got Greenville Triumph. They play Oakland Roots in the second round. So there's a lot of possibilities about where Atlanta United could be matched up in the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. And one of the exciting things about yesterday's announcement with Noah Cobb joining us here in just a second is that Noah Cobb could be part of that match. He could play in the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. He's been getting a ton of experience with Atlanta United to end of last season and into this season. A lot of experience with the first team during preseason training. And I believe Noah is ready to join us right now with video. Appreciate that. Let's get Noah on the show right now. What's up, Noah? How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Doing all
Good,
right?
good. How you feeling after last night?
A little bummed out, but no time to feel sorry. Gotta get on to the next one. So yeah, I'm doing good.
Congratulations, first off.
Thank you.
It has just been great to watch you come into the twos last year and just look like you had been there for years and years. Composure out of you in these games, and then seeing you in preseason with the first team. Just give us a little bit of a reaction to how this has been for you, this ride, coming into the twos and then going to Mexico with the first team and now signing a pro deal.
So yeah, last year when I came into the twos, the first time I was actually with the twos, I was on the bench versus Memphis 901. It was kind of like a shock. I remember my mom texting me when I was at school, just saying like, you're rostered for the twos. And I was just kind of like, because I hadn't trained with them or anything, it was just kind of a random thing. So I was very excited and very nervous as well. But then after the 17 season ended, took a week off, got in with the twos that July, and then was starting the first game versus Louisville. So there was kind of an emotional roller coaster a little bit, kind of off, like 17s off, took a week vacation at the beach, came straight back and was thrown into the lineup. So it was definitely challenging. But like people like Robbie, Bradley last year, the leaders in the group, they really helped me. They talked with me. And then coming into this year, I started preseason with the first team, like right when it started, and then found out I was going on the Mexico trip like the week prior. I was very excited. It was probably like the most exciting news I'd heard from the club. And then the Mexico trip was great. I really enjoyed it. It was a good experience. Learned a lot from the guys, Miles, Brad, learned a lot from those guys. And then I think it helped me coming into this year with the twos. I got experience at that level, and then I'm bringing that back to this level. Hopefully I can be a leader in the group with the twos this year, since even though it's only like my 12th or 13th game. There's a lot of kids that are still below that. So hopefully I can lead them, be that shoulder they can lean on as well.
It seems like this has been a bit of a whirlwind. Have you had the chance to sit back and go, man, a lot has happened here in a very short period of time? Or has it been just a lot's still happening and I've just got to keep going as fast as humanly possible here? What has this been like for you?
I will say, like, we kind of found out about the rumors back in like November. So I kind of had an idea. I didn't know when I was actually going to sign the contract, but I don't think it really like settled with me, really hit that I was actually signed until they announced it. Because then I started getting all the messages from my friends, family, stuff like that. So that's when it kind of hit me. But before that, it felt like I still felt like an academy player. Like it hadn't really set in with me yet. But once it got announced, and I started getting the messages from everybody, that's when it kind of set in for me.
Somebody I had a chance to trade some messages with yesterday has been a big believer in you for a long time. It's Tony Annan. And he talked about, really having a lot of faith in you. I believe it was Tony who might have brought you into that bench spot with Memphis, right?
Right, it was, yeah.
Okay. Really happy for this development. What is somebody like Tony and some of the other coaches in the academy, how much have they helped you to get to this point?
They've really helped me. I remember I came in, played the Man City Cup with the 14s. Steve Cavino was the coach at the time. Didn't really know the group. And he kind of helped me get implemented into the group. I was only training like once a week at that time because I was making the drive from Tennessee. So making that drive, not being with the group, he really helped me settle in. He's probably been the biggest influence because if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't have been settled in with the group, been able to like really catch it in stride. Also, yeah, Matt Lowry, Tony Annan, those two guys have really helped me a lot, along with Jack. Jack coached me when I was a 16 playing with the 17s. And then Matt also, he's kind of mentoring me right now. I do like film review with him and he really helps me talk through stuff. He's someone I can talk to outside of my family, so it's been really good.
One thing that I didn't know until you guys played the Red Wolves in preseason is your relationship with Jimmy Weekly and some of their coaches coming from the Chattanooga area. I've known Jimmy since his Chattanooga FC days. Coming from that area and developing, what was the transition like? You mentioned coming down from Tennessee once a week when you first started. What was the decision like to join the Atlanta United Academy coming from that area?
So as a U13, I did one of the big group trials. They bring in like a bunch of kids, probably like 20, 30 kids. That was kind of what I did in U13. They brought some of the kids down from my team as well. So it was me and a couple of my buddies. And then I got brought back in U14, like it was just me. And then that's kind of when I found out that and then they offered me then when I came back as an individual. But training in Chattanooga, Jimmy, Danny McBride, Matt Yelton, those three guys really helped me. Also, I mean, some of my, like back in my younger days, like U12, we had like a really good team, but we were never a DA team or even an ECNL team. So we were playing at a relatively, I guess you can consider it low level, but we had a very good team. So coming down to Atlanta for the first few times, like first few months, I would say, I was really like kind of just shocked by the level because I would come from something totally different. So it did take me a while to get used to that.
When it comes to your game, you're playing against guys sometimes in USL Championship that might be twice your age. Mm-hmm. And you have always been with Atlanta United too, someone who has been incredibly confident out there, not intimidated by your surroundings, all of those elements that are key to the growth of a young football player. How long did it take you to get that confidence, or is it something that you've always had going up against older players, regardless of how much older they are than you?
I think I've always had like a subtle confidence. I've never doubted myself really and my ability. But I definitely think the first few USL games last year, I was definitely very nervous. I knew that the guys were much more experienced than me, but I never questioned whether they were significantly better players than me or anything like that. I knew that the nerves would be there. I just kind of embraced it a little bit. I knew that I had to go out there and play, so I might as well do it to the best of my abilities and go out there and play with full confidence. Because my kind of the way I thought about it was, you're not getting out of it. You got to go out there and play, so you might as well do it to the best of your ability.
What, for people who are getting to know your game and coming out to see you play with the twos, looking ahead to next season when you sign your homegrown deal with Atlanta United, what would you say are your best qualities on the field right now? And what's something that you're working on to improve as you get ready to make that next step?
Yeah, so I started out kind of my soccer journey as a midfielder, pretty much played midfielder my whole life until probably 3 years ago. And then I moved back to center back. So I've kind of gotten the more technical side of the game. I'm more of a passing center back. I'd say my biggest strength defensively is my speed. That's kind of been my biggest asset my whole life. But one thing I'm working towards is that leadership quality as well. And also like battles in the air, defending the box, kind of the dirty side of the game, stuff like that. Just, making the big defensive play when you need it, stepping up, being a defender first, defending those key areas. That's kind of the main things I'm working on now.
That speed showed up last night on that long run 1v1 with Aaron Guillen. Guillen's, bent over the signboards afterwards, and you made a big play. Give us a glimpse of a game like that last night where you're playing a top team, a top team
Right
in Tampa Bay, and they get up early on it. What's the mindset as you're going through that? And that run, look, I've seen that game play out many, many times over the years, and guys don't always make that run when you're trailing at that point.
Right. Going down 1-0 versus a team like Tampa is definitely not ideal. Their formation was definitely really tricky to figure out. And you could see in the second half when we shifted into the back three, because we almost went man for man, was kind of the idea there. Instead of having to pull midfielders back, we just went straight man for man in the back. But in terms of the run, I knew I could catch the guy. It was just a matter of whether my body would give out before I got there. But I knew I had to make the run. I knew it was a bit of a gut check. I just went for it and hoped for the best, and outcome was good, I guess. But
yeah, great play.
I mean, the game was definitely disappointing, but I mean, I definitely really believe in our team. Our team, I think, undoubtedly has more heart than anybody in the league. We're young. Everybody on the team's fearless. So I definitely think we're going to bounce back versus Charleston this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's been going into last night, it was 2 1-0 losses, and then you go up against one of the favorites in USL Championship. In dealing with a quick turn like this, I know fans may not necessarily understand the quick turnaround for an athlete. It's like you're playing midweek weekend. What is it like for you on a quick turn? What do you have to go through to be as ready as you can be, knowing that there's only like 2 days rest and or 2 days of practice and a day of region getting ready for a match on the weekend?
For me personally, it's a lot of things like just mental preparation. That's kind of the biggest thing, getting yourself mentally ready to play. After a tough loss or win or loss, you have to turn it around really quickly mentally, forget about the last game and focus on the next one. But in terms of recovering the body, we always have the day after off. But I try to just go on a short walk or do something to get the legs moving. And then the next day or two is ice baths, hot tubs, stuff like that, just getting the body ready. And the whole team's doing it together. So we're all kind of in it as a group, getting ready for the next one.
Couple of questions from people watching to finish up. Noah, Kefsi asks about the organization of the back line. Who's really taken that leadership? Is it the goalkeepers? Like last night, it's Dylan. You've had Justin in that situation, Vicente in that situation so far this season. Or is it someone in the back line, or is it a group effort?
I will say it's a lot of a group effort. It's, hey, Grant, hey, Mikey, right shoulder, left shoulder, tuck in. It's a big group effort. But I will say in terms of the center backs, a lot of the talk to us comes from the goalkeeper and our outside backs. because they're the ones that are watching our back, watching the people running behind us. So a lot of that communication's from them. But I would say as a center back, it's our responsibility to organize the midfielders and even pull the outside backs around. So it's kind of a group effort depending on where the opponents have the ball, where the opponents are positioned. But I definitely think so far, like having Mikey down, he's been a big influence. His leadership and experience, he's been really helpful back there.
And last one from Coco wants to know if you're a FIFA player. He sees the TV in the background. And who is your favorite non-Atlanta team to use in FIFA?
I'm not much of a FIFA player.
Okay.
Many of my teammates would consider me pretty bad at the game. But I try my best. I talk a little smack when I'm on there, see if I can get their heads.
There's your balance.
But my favorite team in FIFA to use is whichever team Ronaldo's on because he's the best player on the game.
Oh, I'm a Messi guy, Noah. We're going to have some problems with this.
See, kind of my strategy on FIFA is my favorite team is Man U, so it kind of works out right now.
Cool.
Just get the ball out wide, send it into Ronaldo, use that high heading rating, and just let him go to work. That's kind of my strategy. So, yeah, Man U right now is definitely the team to use.
Good stuff. Noah, thanks for the time, man. Really, really appreciate it. Again, congratulations on all of your success. You put in so much hard work to get here. You deserve it, and we're excited to see you on Sunday.
Thank you. Yeah, see you guys.
Be good.
Noah Cobb, the latest Atlanta United signing out of the academy, number 18 from the Atlanta United Academy to sign a pro deal. Noah Cobb. Very, very cool to have him on with us. Very, very cool to have that set up for us. Thank you, Johannes, and thank you, everybody over at Atlanta United 2, for making that happen. We got Niko Moreno joining us at 10:30. We're going to talk a lot of U.S.-Mexico, a lot of CONMEBOL as well. It's crazy. We've had so much going on this morning. We really haven't talked a lot of U.S.-Mexico, and it's probably for the best for my nerves. Greg Berhalter talked about it yesterday, and kind of opened the door to playing with a rotated squad. And look, there's takes, there's opinions. Kevin Egan will yell at me because he thinks they should go full strength, everything into Mexico and take it game by game. I'm the other way. I think the Panama game is more important. I'm more focused on that one. I'm not punting on Mexico. I think you can be competitive with a rotated group and not weaken the bigger game for me, which is Panama, because of the way the table works out. Kevin and Ray Hudson were on the football show on SiriusXM this morning debating it. You could go either way with it. I mean, you can find the pros and cons either way, and that's something that Berhalter talked about. He said that it was brought up, took the idea to the staff. They've debated the merits of it. The quote is, I think it was an important exercise to do for us. We came out with our answer, and you'll see tomorrow. That'll be tonight. Said certainly there's no harm in looking at both sides of this thing. All time 0-3-3 in World Cup qualifying at the Estadio Azteca. Couple of draws lately, and then a very famous one. And if you get a chance to watch the highlights of it, highly recommended. Scoreless draw in 1997. It's Steve Sampson's run. Jeff Agus got an early red card. John Harkes, Eric Winalda are playing on the left side, dealing with Luis Hernandez. Winalda was on with Jason Davis. I heard a little bit of the clip driving home last night as they were replaying it, and he talked about having to make a series of long runs, kind of like what Noah Cobb had to do last night, but a series of long runs because he's playing on the wing, and he gets forward, and then he has to track back and chase Luis Hernandez. Then they send him forward on another run attacking wide. Then he has to make another run. It's like 90 seconds, and he's run back and forth the whole length of the left side of the pitch. And it goes out for a corner, and he goes back. This is from Eric Winalda yesterday on SiriusXM FC. He goes back after the last run, 90 seconds of just nonstop sprinting, and he pukes on Brad Friedel's shoes. I didn't remember that from the match, and Brad got a little pumped up about that. He got excited about it. So, hey, good for him. It's tough. Like, that's the kind of stuff that's going to come up in this game. You get an early red, you get something weird either way, and things get thrown out the window. And that group was so different than this group, because that group had went through everything leading to 94. And a lot of those guys had moved on and played professionally in Europe and then came back into MLS. And you had guys with just immaculate pedigrees like Tab Ramos, like John Harkes, like Eric Winalda. You had Brad Friedel and Casey Keller in that group in goal, two of the best that we've ever had in this country. You had Tom Dooley still playing at a very high level there. Marcelo Balboa was still in that mix. You had so many stalwarts that you get an early red card. All right, we're going to be puking on each other's shoes by the end of this, but we're going to get this done. And that was the first result in World Cup qualifying that the U.S. had ever had in Mexico at the Estadio Azteca. Got a couple more draws since then. This group is younger, but something that jumped out to me from hearing some of the comments over the last couple of days, they're younger. They don't have as much experience in these situations, but Christian Pulisic, Tyler Adams, man, they're sounding like leaders. They are sounding like seasoned pros, leaders in the situation, guys that their teammates can count on. I think Paul Arriola becomes one of those guys in this match tonight as well. Really important with his experience playing in Mexico. I think he's a guy that people gravitate to in this team. You can love him or hate him on the field, but you know you're going to get maximum effort every time he is on the pitch. This is going to be one of those games. It might not be pretty. Mexico is in kind of an interesting situation because they're desperate more from outside perception rather than their situation. They have 2 games that they should be able to manage after this and assure their qualification and not sweat it too much. But the outside perception is nasty in Mexico right now with getting a result here, getting a win here, avenging what the U.S. has done to Mexico the last 3 times out. So that's going to be a lot of pressure for them to deal with. It's going to be a fight. It's going to be tough. I don't know how many people are going to be in the building. It's been all over the place on, is it fully sold out? Is it 40,000? The reports are all over the map. I believe it is fully sold out. I think it's full capacity. I don't think there's any restrictions on it. Doesn't matter if it's 40, if it's 50, if it's 80, 90. It is a really difficult place to play. And after being there in 2020, and that was a weird game with Atlanta United and Club America, the eve of the night the world fell apart in the sports world. Being there the night before when it was empty, when the team was training, you get a sense why that place is so hard to play. It wasn't a huge crowd for Club America and Atlanta United, again, because the world's falling apart at that time. But that was difficult. But you get a sense when you're standing on that field, it's straight up. Like it's vertical. And you feel completely and utterly tiny and surrounded. Most intimidating venue I've been in ever in anything. Some of the college football stadiums in the South that people say are intimidating. No. Baton Rouge, great stadium. Loved my trip there to watch Georgia win when I was in school at UGA. Yeah, it was loud. Yeah, it was crazy. But there's something about the way the Azteca is built with it being straight up and it feeling like the upper levels are almost like hanging over you. Like it just, you feel surrounded. And then when it gets loud and just intense and crazy, and you're dealing with the altitude, and you're dealing with the air quality, and you're dealing with a Mexico team that will kick you as far as they can, it's going to be really difficult. Anything you get out of tonight is going to be a fight.
There's a difference in a building, and you got into the architecture of the Azteca. There's a difference in a building that is built straight up versus a building that is built up and out. And if it's up and out, meaning that you're away from everything, and we see this in college football venues as well. If you're up and out, the noise doesn't carry as well, and it doesn't hover over you like it does in a building like the Azteca. And the Azteca has the overhang that is a little bit, it's over the stands in and of itself, but it also carries a little bit over the field. And when the noise goes up, it comes immediately right back down on top of you. And so even with a small crowd like we saw with Atlanta United, there was noise that was there. Amplify that by 25 times the number of people, and you're going to get the noise that's associated with a full house. Yeah. It is claustrophobic at times when you're on the field in a situation like that, and you've got to deal with that in addition to a team that has the desperation that's attached from the outside, the perception that's attached from the outside, the pressure that's from the outside and from within because of the situation that's there tonight and all of the avenging that has to be done. There are a lot of different factors here that have made that place traditionally difficult, and you add that into tonight, and that's that extra level that you're staring at.
Yeah, Jason Nix, I can't disagree with you more, man. I'm sorry. It says, let's face it, there were more Mexican fans in Denver and Las Vegas than there will be in the Azteca. Handle it. No, I don't care about the number. The altitude you mentioned is going to be a problem. It is. I think U.S. fans have to get out of this mentality that it's just, well, we should win every game everywhere. It's CONCACAF. No, it's CONCACAF. It's difficult to go on the road in these situations. It is. History backs that up. It's not creating excuses ahead of time. There's a reason why the U.S. has never won at the Azteca in a competitive match. It ain't easy, and Mexico's good. It's not going to be like the crowds in games in the U.S. where in those CONCACAF games in the U.S., not U.S. qualifiers where it is predominantly a U.S. crowd, but in the Gold Cup stuff and Nations League stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of Mexican fans there, but there's also a lot of U.S. fans there. There's going to be a smattering of U.S. fans in the Azteca, and unless it is a blowout for the U.S., you ain't going to hear them. You're not going to notice it. No offense to the people who go. They're going to do the best they can, and they're going to support their team, but it is not like those games. And playing in the Azteca is difficult in and of itself. That's why I think what U.S. fans do sometimes is that they set themselves up for disappointment with this expectation of every game on the road they should win. It ain't that easy. It just is not that easy. And if you don't win here, that's not a negative. If you get a point here, that might be enough if you take care of business on Sunday. A point here is fine. A point here is absolutely fine. You've gotten 3 in 6 games and 3 draws. Okay. I'll take that. I'll take that and run. I will take that and run. And honestly, Mexico won't ultimately be too disappointed about it. Tata Martino and his staff won't be too disappointed about it because they know what's coming up. And you do have to think about what's coming up. And that's why I do worry if it is a first choice lineup for the U.S. tonight and they only get a point, which is a good result. But they only get a point. One, the negativity is going to be off the charts on Twitter. And I've said it so many times. And a lot of people are talking about it now, and I'm glad. We've been talking about it for a while here with the Bird app and how negative it is. If you want to protect your mental health with it, don't even look because it's just absurd. We'll have plenty of chatter on our Discord for stuff like that if you want to have it there. I don't think we're going to do a watch along tonight. Maybe the bat signal goes out, but I'm not planning on it at this point. I'll take a point in a heartbeat. And I think Mexico would take a point in a heartbeat. And then both should be fine with what's coming. We'll see where that gets to. We're going to get Niko Moreno on in just a second. I want to get his take on that. I want to get his take on CONCACAF as a whole. I want to get his take on CONMEBOL. A little bit of MLS news as well, but we're going to focus heavily on these upcoming World Cup qualifiers that start tonight. El Rolo NW on the show with us, Niko Moreno. How you doing, my friend?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Just excited to be here as always. You know, I'm trying to find my place of zen before madness starts. I am trying to be as positive as I can about my own ambitions and desires. As you know, I'm a bit of a realist when it comes to a lot of things, but just, you know, ready to enjoy some soccer today. Lots going on, coming off a really good and fun MLS week, and, you know, CONCACAF Champions League as well. So lots to talk about.
Yeah, let's save your angst until later. Because I do want to talk about CONMEBOL, and I do want to talk about the situation that Colombia is in. Talking U.S.-Mexico, this is, I mean, it's a Clásico. It is a huge game. It is a huge game worldwide. This has turned into an incredible rivalry, and it has swung very recently to the U.S. you go just in Greg Berhalter's reign. At first, it was Mexico dominant. Tata Martino owned it, and it just winning everything. Now you got 3 in a row to the U.S. Both teams have questions. Both teams are not in yet. Both teams have work to do. Mexico, I think, has a much easier road the rest of the way this cycle in this round of games. They get some very manageable games after this. The U.S. has got Panama and Costa Rica, 2 teams that are fighting. But this feels like a game where if the honors are shared and it's a draw, I think both teams are happy walking out of there with the draw. Mexico much less happy because of the pressure that Tata Martino's under. But knowing what's coming, I think they're fine. For the U.S., it then puts it down to you beat Panama at home and you're going to the World Cup.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's what it's all about. I mean, interesting enough, both of these teams have similar situations in a few things. Both coaches have a lot of pressure because I think regardless of results and, the direct matchups against Mexico, Greg is always under fire for one reason or another. The roster, who's in, the question marks at the 9. So that's one thing. The other is they both really need this game. But for U.S., you kind of just said it. I mean, realistically enough, Panama game is probably more important simply because of the direct matchup, right? That you're trying to put it across. And Panama is a team that has not only played well, but they're kind of right behind you and trying to get up there. So it is an interesting one. I'm not of the thought process that you shouldn't play your best team for all your games, but you do have to start to put that into consideration, right? I mean, you have so many absences for the U.S. men's national team, right? No Sergino Dest, no Aronson. You have, no Turner, no McKinney. So you do have a thinner or not as, you don't have as much depth as you have in the past. And you have so many guys with yellow cards that could also be strategic of when do you want to play those guys, right? Talking about Jedlin, talking about, of course, Tyler Adams. So, it does bring up a lot of questions on how you manage these next couple of games. But it'll be interesting for sure.
Because, and I'll be the first to sit here and say that I can't pull the trigger on a Tyler Adams tonight because of the fear of yellow card accumulation and not having him for Panama. I would have him in street clothes or watching in Orlando or whatever. I don't want to risk that because you have to treat this group of matches as a block. You can't go 1-1-1. You have to think about going down the line here. I can't put a Tyler Adams in my own personal starting 11 because of everything that you need him for later. Get through tonight, focus on matches 2 and 3. I can't do that. Do you?
Could you repeat the last part?
No, do you have Tyler Adams in your starting 11 because of
not today?
Yeah,
not today. Look, I really think you hold them for your next game for various reasons. One, I think that Panama's midfield and what they try to do as a team can be affected and countered better with a Tyler Adams in the midfield rather than a Mexico squad that plays with a 4-3-3 that maybe gives you a little bit more space, that can that hasn't looked great in transition either, that they're coming from a bad game against Panama at Azteca, and you can tell that they're vulnerable in so many areas. So because of how Mexico's coming into this game, some of the absence that they have as well, we got Jardo and others, I think that the U.S. can manage to not have Tyler Adams. And I'm not saying you're not playing your best 11. I'm just thinking that you modify certain things, and whether you want to go with Kellen there and maybe wait it out a little bit and you're not as dynamic as you typically are, that'll be okay today. I think today against Mexico is one of those days where you can move that and take that risk, if you may, of not having Tyler Adams in. But the Panama game is key, is important, and not just in the numbers, in the standings, but also the impact that Adams can have is going to be more important against Panama, in my opinion.
I agree with you. And I think maybe as we all do in these kinds of things, we make it black or white. I would not go second choice just to say I'm going second choice and rest all my starters and all that. But you do have to think about individual situations. And Adams being on yellow card accumulation, I can't risk him here. That's my decision. I couldn't do that. Kellen Acosta might play in both games of the next two, and I think he probably will. I think Cristian Roldan can be really important for the U.S. tonight, especially if you pair him up in that midfield with Kellen Acosta, because you do have a little bit of dynamic ability to go forward, and Cristian's in such a good run of form right now, but he can play that 8 and give you everything you need in this game, in my opinion. Go ahead. Yeah, and Roldan better than anybody. You've seen him up close lately. He's been great.
He's been fantastic. And I mean, we've talked about sometimes playing, and I think Greg even has talked about playing guys that are in rhythm. And these MLS guys that you're looking at, they're in the best rhythm, and no one particularly that I can think of in MLS as good as Cristian Roldan over the beginning of the year. I mean, what he's done in CCL and in MLS is incredible in terms of assists, his heat map, the space he covers, his ability to be in dangerous positions. Everything about his play has been fantastic, and it's something that I think Greg should try to bank on, because unfortunately, Cristian has been one of the guys that gets the least amount of minutes. So why not, for a guy that always plays with a chip on his shoulders, that is always 100% in games, play him, allow him to have a big game, and then maybe you can analyze. Because, I mean, it's a win-win either way. Either you look at genius, or guess what? Everybody who doubts Cristian or whatever, now there's a base on things. So I think that at the end of the day, Cristian is going to be fantastic. And if you allow him to grow into this team, he's going to be very beneficial for the U.S. men's national team.
Yeah, Bart says, why are we talking about Roldan starting when he's literally not started a single World Cup qualifier this cycle? Bart, I'm not talking about the rest of the cycle. For me, honestly, I'm not talking about the cycle. If we're making decisions based off the cycle about these 3 games, we could really make some mistakes. I think the situation tonight with no Weston McKennie, who's been there in the cycle, with Tyler Adams on yellow card accumulation, no McKennie, you already know that. I'm not playing Adams tonight because I want him against Panama, no question. That opens up the door for Roldan. That's why I think you have to talk about it. And I know you don't like Roldan. I know Bart does not like Roldan. I get that. There's plenty of U.S. fans who don't. I think he's going to play a role in these 3 games. And for me, the biggest role he could play would be tonight against Mexico.
But he has a little bit of a point, and that is a frustrating point for me, because I do like Cristian Roldan. But the fact and the reality is that Greg hasn't looked his way when he's need him. But
he's got to look somebody's way right now, though.
Way is another guy that has a yellow card. So if you want to hold him, and you want to play maybe Cristian at the a little bit farther up at the wing of the 4-3-3, you can also do that. I mean, what I'm saying is that Cristian Roldan's versatility gives you a lot of options, and a guy that is, whether you like him or not, he is productive. He is productive and effective at what he does, regardless of the assignment you set him up with, because he's a very good dual player, right? Defensively, offensively, he has a V8 engine in his chest. He's going to go as far in as much time as you need him to play. So I think he'd be important for the squad in this particular window.
I do too. I think, no, he's not one of Greg's first choice guys. We know that. That's obvious. He's also somebody that Greg trusts because he's constantly in the team. So that is a bit of a balance. And right now, tonight, you are dealing with a situation that you didn't deal with in the last match. You didn't deal with in the last 3 games, where you don't have Weston McKennie, and the decision, if you play Tyler Adams, then we're having a very different conversation. But if you don't play Tyler Adams and you don't have Weston McKennie, that opens up a door, because there's only so many people who can play tonight. Like, it's literally down to Kellen Acosta in the central midfield in those roles. It's Acosta. I think Roldan, I've always felt like Roldan is best as a deep lying 8 in that kind of position. That's where I always think of him. He's versatile. He can play anywhere you need, it seems like. But I think he can suit that. You've got Luca De La Torre, who hasn't played a lot either. You've got
Right.
Gianluca Busio, who Greg is kind of hot and cold with. You don't have a ton of options there. I think Kellen Acosta is definitely playing. And is he playing the Adams role or is he playing the McKinney role? If Acosta's playing the Adams role, then somebody's got to be the McKinney role to a degree, and that could be Roldan. That's why I think when we have these conversations, like, yes, there's been a whole cycle. Absolutely. But how many times in World Cup qualifying over the years, Niko, have you seen you get to this last window, a team needs something, you pull a wild card out of the deck because things have changed?
No, absolutely, 100%, and things have changed in many ways. And right now, and with the need to qualify, I get that. Look, no U.S. men's national team has ever won at Azteca in qualifiers, and you want to be that historic team, and you want to get out here, and you think about maybe the inertia and the impact that it can have on the rest of the qualifiers. But the reality is is that things have changed. This Mexico team is not the Mexico team of before. They've lost a little bit of that respect by the area, and they're no longer that dominant team that they were before. Even Azteca, we've talked about how much that has devaluated its pressure, its intensity, and therefore, you could do various things today to make sure that things go your way. I do like that Greg hasn't, dismissed the fact that he could use a B team. I don't really like necessarily the whole B and A or whatever, but you could play with a mix and match of certain pieces. But yeah, I mean, today is going to be telling of how the rest of the qualifiers plays out, and there's going to be some decision making on his end that could be, very important for what the U.S.'s chances are to make it to this World Cup, which I think most would agree that they're going to be there. But we've seen craziness happen, and we don't want to be there, right? We don't want a Cuba scenario. We don't want anything like that happening for the U.S. men's national team.
No.
So then how different do you see things up top tonight? I mean, is it something, once again, where you put this Mexico match as a standalone? Do you have Jordan Morris, Jordan Pefok up there? Is it Pulisic, Reyna? How are you looking at things up top tonight?
Look, I do want to see Reyna. I'm not going to lie to you. And I understand that he hasn't been in that rotation, and he, there's some speculations there, but I do want to see them up there. Jordan Morris, look, I really like him. I think he's a good player, but I have not seen him as free and as defiant as I have seen him in the past. So I don't know if he's your guy. Right. You do need a little bit of hierarchy, and you do need some guys that demand respect against this Mexico team. That's why perhaps Pulisic would be someone that you might want to put in there, right? Regardless of, you could take him out, right? I mean, Greg has done that, right? Just play him certain minutes. You can start him, play your game, set the stage, and regardless of how the game is going, then you can pull him off and read the game a little bit better. But I don't have a exact 3, but I do think that you need a mix of those players. Jordan, I wouldn't put him in personally. I just don't think he's there in his play with Sounders. He usually kind of gives you a sample of what you might see with the national team, and I just haven't seen him. Once again, look, I think he's a great player, has a lot of positives, but right now, at this moment, I don't think he's the guy for this game tonight.
Yeah, I think current form is going to factor into this to a degree as well. And last one on U.S.-Mexico for you, Niko. You mentioned Morris. He's somebody that I would have thought maybe coming into the window that we might see in this game or at least one of the games. Costa Rica, if you're in, whole different conversation. Leave that to the side for now. Paul Arriola, talking about current form, is somebody who can come in with good form and knows the Mexican game very well and is somebody that Greg Berhalter has trusted in some big moments. Feels like a game for Arriola and either one of Pulisic and Reyna to me.
Yeah, I would agree. And Paul is he can be very up and down for me. You know, he can have great games, brilliant games, and then not so much. And I honestly don't see a squad where MLS players rang on the starting lineup, because I think that there's a lot of pressure on Greg in various ends, and that's why I don't see it. But I would look at him, particularly for a guy that can generate a lot of danger and has a lot of tools in his disposition, whether it's the mid-range shot or utilizing a little bit more of those internal channels to get inside. I think he plays well with a potential, depending on who you have up top, he could play well up there. So, yeah, he's a guy that I would look at. But once again, I don't think that's going to be the case, simply because I don't see Greg having a team that is majority of MLS. And we're talking about Kellen, we're already talking about Christian, we're already talking about certain players, but he's definitely in good form. And I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate the fact that he looks at Paul Arriola for an opportunity today.
Yeah, I think just with Reyna, I don't know if you can count on 93 times in a week with him at this stage. I'm with you on Pulisic, though. I think you do need that focal point that draws attention from Mexico, somebody who commands that respect.
Guys, I have a bit of a situation that's playing with me right now with my with my youngest. I don't know if we could do maybe a couple of questions more. I'm so sorry.
No, all good. I knew we had like 5 more minutes for you. Let's wrap it a little bit shorter. So then we got to talk Colombia. We have to talk about what you're dealing with tonight with Bolivia coming. Should get 3 points. Should is the key word. But what percentage would you put on the likelihood that Colombia qualifies here? Because they're 7th and they got to get into that 5th spot to get to the playoffs.
I wouldn't put it beyond a 40% chance, man. I'm going to be quite blunt. I'm going to be quite real. I'm looking at the games, how they play out. You know, can we or can Colombia today end with a good result and maybe a draw between Peru and Uruguay, and all of a sudden you get that hope in your chest? But at the end of the day, if the statistics, the points, the way things can go are very rare to go in Colombia's way this particular round. I look at the call-ups and I still don't see how certain players are not being called up. You know, Yasser Espilla did so many good things as a young player. You don't call him, but why would you when you didn't use him in Peru when you needed him? So I guess, why am I upset about it? There's guys like Villa playing for Boca Juniors who have been so good and productive up top for a team that hasn't been able to score and is look beyond anemic up there. And yet you don't call him, and he's the same guy, same things. You call Fabra, which is a fullback, with another 3-4 players in that same position. Why is there so many fullbacks in this team? I'm not sure. Fabra tends to be a guy that is more of an attacking-minded player, but he's a liability defensively. So if that's the case, call Villa, call a real attacker. To me, it's incredible, and I just can't fathom the way that Rueda is handling this call-up. Not to mention the fact that, as I said before, I think Venezuela is going to stick it to Colombia. And it's inevitable. It is going to happen. And look, I hope I'm wrong. I hope that next Thursday I'm here just saying, hey, I got it wrong. But we haven't been wrong about many things on this show. And this is like my place of, this is where I don't know why, when I talk to you guys, things just kind of come together, and I just don't see it happening, guys. I think Colombia has not won at Venezuela since the 96, 97. Peckerman knows and understands this team so well. Yes, he knows this team. These guys, the best players you have, Peckerman was the one who kind of put this together. He could take it apart, man. I just don't see it going our way.
All right, we're going to let you go. I do want to make a possible request. Depending on how things go tonight, Tuesday, if things are on the line in South America, can we steal you for a little bit on Tuesday to talk about it?
Absolutely. Tuesday's a good day for me. It works. Today we got some things going on over here, but yes, Tuesday would be fantastic. But I appreciate you guys. Make sure to follow us at Pulso Sports. We have a really good conversation with Santiago Rodriguez that we just posted.
Nice.
It was fantastic. Great guy. We talked about the semifinals against Sounders. But I appreciate you guys. Have a good one.
Thanks, Nico. We'll talk to you next week. Niko Moreno dealing with the kiddos today. Stressed about Colombia today. They're going to need some help. They should win. They should beat Bolivia. Should is the key word there because they did lose at home to Peru in January. So they beat Bolivia. They go to 20 points. Chile, if they get anything out of Brazil, it's amazing. They're probably on 19, max 20 if they pull a draw because Brazil's celebrating early. That's 6 and 7. Peru and Uruguay is the really interesting game that could go a few different directions. Uruguay wins, Chile doesn't win in Brazil, then Uruguay is through. Ecuador gets a draw against Paraguay. They're through. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, done. The 5th spot, if Uruguay wins, then you're talking about Peru on 21 points. You're talking about Chile on 19, 20 if they pull a magical draw in Brazil. You're talking about Colombia on 20 going into the last day on Tuesday. If that comes to fruition, and you're talking about the last spot being up for grabs on Tuesday, just to look ahead a little bit in South America. You're not looking at Bolivia, Brazil, doesn't matter. You're not looking at Ecuador, Argentina, it wouldn't matter. You're looking at Chile hosting Uruguay, who would have already qualified by this point. You're looking at Colombia going to Venezuela, and Nico laid it out for you. Venezuela would love to stick it to Colombia. Beckerman would probably love to stick it to Colombia. You're talking about the guy who led them last time, who's now managing the rival, who would love to end the World Cup qualification run. That's going to be an incredible game to watch next Tuesday if it comes down to it. And Peru hosts Paraguay on the last day. So you got Chile and Peru both at home with feisty, difficult opponents, although one of them would have been qualified. One of them's already out. But two teams that could easily pull draws in those games and make it crazy. And you got Colombia going to Venezuela where they haven't won in a while, and they're facing Jose Peckerman, who could be the executioner. It's woof if things go the way that they probably will in South America today. If things get weirder, if Uruguay and Peru draw, and then 4th place is up for grabs and 5th place is up for grabs, then that Chile-Uruguay game gets even crazier, and just buckle up next Tuesday. Hopefully, we're not looking at buckling up for next Wednesday with CONCACAF. Hopefully. Sunday, you got games where you are going to have to buckle up with U.S. and Panama. But we'll know what Sunday's all about at the end of tonight in CONCACAF. Now, we've talked to U.S.-Mexico. Before we go, the full schedule in CONCACAF this evening, because other games matter too. Jamaica, El Salvador does not matter. Sorry, it's 8 o'clock. Sorry, guys. Doesn't matter. 9:05 Panama, Honduras matters. Panama should get 3 points here. Shouldn't be anything to worry about. Shouldn't be anything that Panama's sweating. Shouldn't be any expectation that Panama doesn't get 3 points. We'll see if they get it done. If they don't, well, then things have changed a little bit in the paradigm, but they should have 3 in this one. Costa Rica, Canada, 10:05 is a fascinating game. Canada is all but in. They could finish World Cup qualification unbeaten, which would be an incredible accomplishment for Canada. A lot of different scenarios with possible World Cup seeding and where they could fall and what things could look like. I'm going to leave that to the side because I don't trust FIFA to actually follow rankings straight up and all that different stuff. I have no clue where all it's going to end. I'm not worried about that right now. Canada's got to take care of business. And I don't think John Herdman's somebody who's going to go in and say, we're good on whatever. We got easy games coming up. Just here you go. Could they not play their absolute first choice because of other games coming up? Yeah, they could. But that could still be enough to deal with Costa Rica, who is good, who is very good defensively, who is anemic in the attack. 8 goals in 11 games so far, but only 7 conceded. Keylor Navas talked about it coming into these games. These could be the last games in Keylor Navas's historic career for Costa Rica. The best goalkeeper maybe ever in CONCACAF. There's some debate about that. Memo Ochoa stands get really bent out of shape when you say that. Tim Howard would probably have something to say about that as well. You can go further back into U.S. history with your Friedels, with your Miolas, and all of that as well. But Keylor Navas has been one of the best. He's probably the most impactful Costa Rican player of all time. And there's some other guys who are going to argue that, but Navas has been incredible. Could be the last dance. He said this when he landed in Costa Rica on Tuesday. He's going to enjoy these games as much as he can. It could be his last ones with the national team. He said, this could be my final call up with Costa Rica, and that's why we have to give our best and enjoy ourselves. Players like myself and Brian Ruiz have been with the national team for a long time, and any game could be our last. They're going to fight till the end. They're going to fight till the absolute end of this. Depending on how that one goes, because Costa Rica is really up against it to get in here. They're going to need to win out. They can get to 25 max. If they don't win tonight, then again, the paradigm is different when you look ahead. You're not going to know that because they kick off a little bit after the U.S. game, unless Canada goes up and like wins 3-0 or something and scores 3 goals early. And then you're like, oh, wait a minute. Okay, things are different than we thought they were coming into the day. Panama kicks off an hour early. If for some reason Honduras turns back the clock, and I'm not buying it, but anyway, then, okay, maybe the paradigm changes a little bit for the U.S. there, but you're going to be scoreboard watching to a degree. But the U.S. has it in their hands at the Estadio Azteca tonight. A point is great. A win is incredible. It doesn't seal a whole lot, but a win is incredible. Now, what is on the line for scenarios, clinching scenarios tonight? Keep these in mind for anybody. Canada, if they beat Costa Rica, they're through. They can book their tickets to the World Cup. First time since 1986. You beat Costa Rica, it's done. If Canada draws Costa Rica and the U.S.-Mexico draw, or Mexico beats the U.S., or Panama ties or loses to Honduras, which is very unlikely, or Canada loses to Costa Rica and the U.S. loses to Mexico and Panama loses to Honduras or draws, then Canada's through. They got a million different scenarios, but if they win, they're in. They're going to be in. U.S., you can clinch at the end of the night. It's very, very unlikely, but you can. You beat Mexico and Panama loses to Honduras and Costa Rica ties or loses to Canada, the U.S. is through, and they can celebrate at the end of the night at the Azteca. Mexico could celebrate tonight. They beat the U.S. and Panama loses to Honduras and Costa Rica ties or loses to Canada. Again, not likely, but both of those are on the table. Panama can't clinch anything tonight. Costa Rica can't clinch anything tonight. That's your clinching scenarios tonight. We'll run through those tomorrow and what it looks like for Sunday. Whew. Canada's getting in tonight, Ricky. Yeah, I would feel pretty safe about throwing juice boxes at that. I really would. Beyond that, buckle up. Buckle up when the lineup comes out, because there are going to be opinions. There are going to be takes. I don't know what I'm expecting at this point, honestly. I don't really take either side of it out of what Greg Berhalter said yesterday. I can't read those tea leaves right now. I think it could be a mix. I think it could be a mixed lineup. More so than I thought maybe at the beginning of the week. I think it could be a mix. I think you got a lot of confidence in this U.S. group, at least in comments, which is good. It's great to hear. And look, maybe you write a little bit of that. Not all of it. I think you do have to think about Panama. And for me, Tyler Adams does not play tonight because of that.
Yep.
Some other guys, different questions. But Tyler Adams, I got to have him against Panama. If I had Weston McKennie, I'd maybe think a little differently about it. Maybe. Even then, I still don't think I would want to risk Tyler Adams tonight and lose him for Panama. That's the biggest one that I'm looking to see in the lineup. Beyond that, you got questions. You got questions about how many MLS guys are in it. You got questions about what the center back pair is. You got questions about Paul Arriola's inclusion or Christian Roldan's inclusion. You got questions about who the number 9 is. I don't think you have questions about who the goalkeeper is. I think it's Zach Steffen. You've got questions in a lot of different spots on the field because of the situation with Thursday in Mexico City and with Sunday against Panama. And that Sunday against Panama game, it just means a little bit more because of the way the table plays out.
And that is why I have structured my thought pattern toward the whole brick of games, this whole block, and thinking that you can't risk not having somebody for a double negative. And I know that drives some people crazy. But you have to think in the first 2 steps and how one domino falling the wrong way can screw things up entirely and make things more difficult than they would be if you set things up and looking at it 3-dimensionally through this entire window. And so, yeah, to your point, I think that it ends up being some kind of a mix. But to the point that Dylan Butler made back on Tuesday, I could see the conversation from Greg Berhalter being to this whole group, I trust each and every one of you in these situations, in this match, the first match coming up against Mexico, in this match coming up against Panama. I trust each and every one of you. So just be ready for me tapping you on the shoulder and sitting there saying, I need you tonight in this match. It starts tonight, obviously, with this big match in Mexico, but I would just temper expectations if I'm looking at something that first choice lineup that you have in your head may not be what Greg Berhalter has in mind. Hopefully he's looking at matches 1 and 2 as a block and not individually that could impact you in match 2 if things go wrong with the first one.
Yeah. Storm Chaser Kevin says, no, we stress and worry all day and watch the game angrily and hope for the best. Man, don't live that life. You don't have to. You really don't have to live that life, Kevin. If that's how you want to, I can't stop you. But you don't have to watch it angrily. You don't have to stress all day. I'm stressed because it's a big day for U.S. soccer. I'm stressed as somebody who works in U.S. soccer. Tried to explain this to people in qualification for 14 when I was working for soccer in the streets. And when soccer at that time, this was before we had Atlanta United, when soccer was getting a lot of hype and a lot of talk, 2010, people are excited. You saw people invest. You go talk to them about soccer, about making a donation to what we were doing. They're like, yes, I watched what Landon Donovan did. Yes, here's my money. When you get into that next qualification process and the U.S. had to sweat in the semifinal round to even get to the Hex, yeah, it's like, look, this kind of affects my job. Like, I work in this industry, and this is not good if the U.S. doesn't qualify. It was not good that they didn't qualify for 2018. It is important. So I stress about it, but I'm not going to watch the match angrily. I'm not going to be sitting here like just being negative and skeptical and hating everything. And if it's not 9 points in the window, it's crap and all these different things, because I don't want to live that life. And I make the decision not to live that life. I'll share with you what Alex Steck, who Alex is one of the great people in MLS. Alex does sideline and a lot of comms and marketing work for FC Cincinnati. Great one in the broadcast industry as well in the league. She said, I'd recommend doing away with the negativity and skepticism in this window. If you want them to win, support them. That's something Jesse Marsh said in interviews this week. This is where I don't know why the general conversation, and it's not everywhere in American soccer, but it is a lot of places, of, no, we support the team, but we're going to be angry about everything the team does, or we're going to be skeptical, or we're going to be negative and rah, 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 and we're going to say horrible things on Twitter and rah, 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 but we support the team. No, you don't. Like, that's not support. Support the team. The people who are going to be at the Azteca tonight wearing U.S. colors are going to be as loud as they possibly can and try to be a beacon for the players on the field. And if somebody scores a goal like Michael Bradley did at the Azteca a few years ago, you're going to run towards where those U.S. fans are and point at them. Mm-hmm. That's important. vibes are vibes, but yeah, like when you get to the game on Sunday in Orlando, this team's going to need every ounce of support that every U.S. fan can give them in that venue. It's going to be critical. Constant negativity, constant questioning, constant skepticism, constant all of it, toxicity, all of it does nothing to support. Zero. Stress? Yes, 100%. Stressed about this. I'd love for this to be over. Didn't want it to come down to this window. It has. Can't control that. You got to take care of business. Stressed that you're missing Weston McKennie. Absolutely, I'm stressed about that. I'm stressed you're missing Brendan Aronson. I'm stressed you're missing Serginho Dest. Other teams are stressed about guys they're missing. I'm stressed. No question about that. But this is a group that can get the job done. And the job is not necessarily 3 points tonight. The job is playing well. The job is getting out of here in one piece. The job is being prepared to go beat Panama at home. And the job is, if 3 points are on the table tonight, take them. Take them. If Mexico can't take care of their business, if Mexico has all their internal problems, if Tata Martino can't get them up for this game, if you've got all the infighting that some would lead you to believe out of the Mexican media, take advantage and punish them for it and take 3 points out of the Azteca. And the last time this game might mean something like this. If it's there to take it, they better take it. But if the game that's there for them tonight is to take a point, take that point. I'm not worried about it either way. You don't go in and play for a point. They're not going in to play for a point. If 3's on the table, they got to finish the chances to get 3. If 1 point's on the table and you got to see it out, or you get a lead and then you got to see it out, you fight like hell to get it. You take what this game is. You take what's on the table in this match. You take it. And then you go and you turn the table over on Panama on Sunday. That's what these two games are all about. And then Costa Rica is not as much to worry about. You never want it to come down to the last game. You never want it to come down to the last game on the road. You never want it to come down into a difficult place to play against a team that might have the opportunity to knock you out. And they're going to remember Snow Classico. And they're going to remember all these other things. If they have a chance to knock you out and get in at your expense, yeah, you don't want that life. You can avoid that life. You get something out of this game tonight. Love 3. I'll take 1 and be very, very happy. And you take care of business on Sunday against Panama. That's what is there. And then what should happen, I fear that it won't, because I fear that toxicity has overtaken a lot of the conversation in this situation. But if they go and beat Mexico at the Azteca, and because that doesn't make it okay to not beat Panama. If you beat Mexico, you got to still beat Panama. Because otherwise, then it's really complicated on the last day. If you go and get 6 points in these two games, then you got some legends wearing U.S. shirts who got it done, and they need to be treated as such. And the manager does too. And everybody should shut their mouths with all of the negativity and skepticism and toxicity if they take care of the business in front of them. I fear that they won't get that respect. I fear that it'll still be the same crap that it always is. I don't care. They're legends to me if they go get 6 at the Azteca tonight, because there's no player who's ever worn a U.S. shirt in a qualifier who can say that. But that 3 doesn't mean enough if you don't take care of Panama. So you got a lot on the table for the U.S. Enjoy it, because we don't get these opportunities all the time in games that mean this much. Enjoy that aspect of it. Stress out and deal with the stress however you do today. Support one another if you're a U.S. fan. If you're a Colombia fan and you're sweating it, man, you're going to be looking for that support from your fellow fans, because it's a big day for Colombia. If you're an Ecuador fan, you're not stressing as much. But yes, I know it's there. I know the anxiety's there. But you're in a position where you might be celebrating by the end of the night. Uruguay, Peru, a lot on the line. The European teams, you might be done at the end of the day. You might be done by 6 o'clock. You might be out. There's probably a surprise on the card somewhere over there, for sure. Australia fans hating life right now. They don't like the road they got to go down, but they still got a road. There's still a road there for them. Africa, we'll talk about it tomorrow. You got 5 games, first legs tomorrow. These next few days worldwide, it's why we love this game, isn't it? It's why we love this sport, why we love the national team play. There's nothing like it. in sports. There's absolutely nothing like it. Excitement, optimism, fear, stress, all of it is worldwide right now. And it's going to be an amazing day for the sport worldwide. Hopefully we don't have more incidents like idiots throwing things on the field like they did in Lebanon this morning. Hopefully we have some amazing goals to talk about, some amazing moments, and hopefully from our perspective here in Atlanta, GA, in the United States, that tomorrow morning we have some players to celebrate who take care of something in Mexico that we've never seen before. No one has. No one. It's never happened. Maybe this group's the first one to do it. Maybe Greg Berhalter will be rocking the Jordans or the Air Force Ones at the Estadio Azteca and have 3 points to put in his back pocket at the end of the night. Find out. Kick off a little after or right at 10 o'clock, I believe. A lot of soccer to talk about tomorrow. We will do our best to recap all of it for you tomorrow. Probably with a lot of Red Bull in our systems, at least mine, to get through all of it. So enjoy the day. Enjoy these games. Even for the U.S., if it doesn't go well tonight, you can still fix it. But, man, I hope that we're in a much better spot than we could be. I hope that this is an opportunity to look at something historic tonight. I really do. Let's see if they can do it. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Y'all have a good rest of the day. Mucho platiel.
Mucho platiel.